to think that joy is outside of us. It's not. It's within you.
We are at a point as Black women where we like, okay, collective step back, collective breath. Y'all about the FAFL.
If you are actually about liberation, you are about joy. If you're, dancing through life, maybe that's just the dance moves at the moment.
Pull up to the scene with the ceiling missing. All right.
And then I started doing my research and I was like, wait, Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth, all of them had this kind of ability within them.
Am I Harriet Tubman?
Probably.
You're watching We Ain't Dying for This, a Black woman's guide to liberation. And I'm your host, Crystle Johnson. We are a community of Black women demanding our collective liberation through radically soft living. Each Thursday, we feature the stories of Black women who have set themselves free from the expectations of others and are choosing to live on their own terms.
Hey y'all, and welcome to another episode of We Ain't Dying for This, a Black woman's guide to liberation. I am your host, Crystle Johnson, and we are a community of Black women demanding our collective liberation through radically soft living. And today I'm really excited to be here in LA with my good sis, Joy Donnell, like Donnell Jones, and having a conversation about joy as liberation. And I get so jealous because your name is Joy. I just feel like it just fits in with everything. And I'm like, why can't my name be Joy? Why does it have to be Crystle? Like, all I get is crystal clear.
Oh, no, you don't just get crystal clear. You get the actual element that you can use to help channel the joy energy.
Okay, I like this. Keep going.
That's the physical, magical manifestation all concentrated into one powerful element.
Okay, can I put you in my pocket?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I'm so glad you're here.
I'm glad I'm here too. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my goodness,
Yes.
Crystle's in LA.
I know.
We do want to keep you, but we know you have to go to other places.
Yeah, because we just talked about the fact that California was on fire and now y'all are swimming. It's a lot happening.
It's a lot happening, but I mean, we've been used to fire season and flood season. Those tend to happen all the time, but this year it was very different.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was saying to you, it's like an Octavia Butler novel because
Yes.
she did in Parable of the Sower. She talked about Altadena burning down in 2025, in February 1st of 2025, and we were a little early. Who knew that it was going to be like this? We just saw weather patterns that we've never seen before, ever.
It's so wild. And some people say, she is a historian and she just tracked patterns, but then other people will say that she's a seer, but maybe she's both.
I think that seers usually are historians. Storytellers have to be futurists that understand the power of the past.
Yes.
Understand the present moment did not just start in the present moment, that it has a history and the past has a future. And so you go into those three realms at the same time to kind of conjure other possible futures.
Yeah.
So I think that not only was she a seer, but I also think that she was a conjurer. And she was speaking to us about other ways of being, other ways of living, other ways of connecting with ourselves and the planet and the cosmos that we just hadn't seen in storytelling before. So she literally changed the canon of literature. And now I'm getting ahead of myself. Y'all can't tell I'm a storyteller. So
Yes, I love that you're a storyteller. You always make me think very differently about what's being said on the surface. Like I may be at the surface level and I may go a little bit deeper, but you always make me think a lot more deeply about things. So thank you for that. We've been connected on LinkedIn for a very long time, but it definitely feels like we know each other.
Absolutely. And I just remember from the moment I started being like, oh my goodness, she's putting up these soulful posts, and I appreciate about you that you're on LinkedIn providing this soulfulness that people think is absent from the platform. And I would say you haven't gone deep enough on LinkedIn if you think it's absent, because my feed is popping with nothing but soulfulness. So I just really dig that about you.
Thank you so much. You built that thing brick by brick. That is so important to be able to make sure that you curate your space. And that goes for online and
right.
in real life.
Look, if you don't train the algorithm is going to train you. So I'm really about creating the kind of atmosphere that I need to keep being able to remember what is sweet about life.
Yeah.
And notice the magic. Like I don't think that you have to go fishing for magic. People think you have to create it, you have to go
Yeah.
find it. You need to notice it.
Yes.
It's there all the time. It's flowing around you. You just need to actually pay attention to it.
Totally. You absolutely have to be present.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So before we jump into like talking about joy as liberation and how joy has played a part in your liberation, let's go through a few this or that questions. So the first one is about music. So old school R&B or 2000s hip hop?
Old school R&B.
Okay. What's coming to mind? You answer too fast. So what's the song that's in your head?
I mean, I don't even want to just start going through. I'm just like, Luther Vandross, now I'm sounding like Jamie Foxx. Luther Vandross, New Edition, Ready for the World.
Yeah.
But that's just, I don't know. There's something about the way that those songs had that kind of, I don't know, there was still some romance to it.
Totally. Yeah.
That is, I think, missing sometimes now. Or it's there, but you have to go search for it more because there's just a lot more braggadociousness going on in music, or just, going ahead and explaining how you're going to do what you're going to do to somebody.
Yes, that's the truth.
Right.
For sure.
And without really getting into the wooing and the wowing and the invitation. So that's what I dig about the old school hip hop.
Yeah. Oh, I love the wooing and the wowing. I love the chivalry so much because if you like scroll, like I'm scrolling on my Instagram feed and people will be like, I don't want to get to know you. Let's go on vacation. Like, let me get to know you on vacation because everything is just so like, let's speed this thing up, okay?
Right.
But yeah, old school R&B really teaches you like how to slow down, how to be present, how to really love on someone and not just, get it popping tomorrow.
Like Keith Sweat was begging on every song.
He
baby,
was.
baby, 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 baby.
I was just thinking about Nobody. Like, that's what came up in my head.
That's it.
That's the one.
That's the one.
That is the one.
He's like, let me to show you that I'm qualified.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. This one might be a little controversial. Spades or Uno? You about to tell me that you can't play spades?
I'm going to go with spades. Okay.
What?
But
Okay.
here's the thing. I'm going to go with spades. Like, I like Uno in concept, but sometimes it's just too many cards for me.
Yeah.
And I've never played Uno for money. You're about to find out something about me. I've played spades for money, and I win, and then I get up from the table, and I don't give people a chance to win their money back.
That's that part.
And so that's how I do. And so spades.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. I really thought you were about to say, Crystle, I don't know how to play spades. I was a little concerned. Not that I'm judgy, because I'm not judgy, but...
Oh, no, I know how to play. I'm from Georgia. I know how to play spades.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
yes.
amazing. Love that. The South.
Yes.
Love that so much. And then the last one is about Sundays. Self-care Sunday or Sunday brunch?
Now, this feels like a trick question because brunch is part of my self-care Sunday.
Okay.
So, yes, always self-care Sunday, always reset Sunday. But whether I go out or we stay in and we like make a fabulous brunch and just like whip up something, throw things in the blender, pull out the fancy silverware and the fancy glasses and make a whole event of it,
Yeah.
is there. So I kind of do both.
Okay. That's beautiful. Yeah. And that also tells me that you have people that you want to be around on Sunday because Sunday is in your space to have that brunch. So you're bringing in people who bring you joy, not people who steal your energy.
Oh, absolutely.
We don't want that.
No. And community, I think, is a part of self-care. When you have that benevolent community,
Absolutely.
right? Like that vibrant community. And it's very important to have people who see you
Yes.
who are capable of seeing when you need help too, like when you are struggling, that don't just look at you and say like, oh girl, you look great, when you know you look like you've been dragged by a Mack truck. And they can kind of instead be like,
Yes.
look, like you look like you need, what can I help you with? Like you're carrying a lot right now. It's really important to have those people around you, not just people who soup you up all the time. Like you do need that, like you need the hype,
Yeah.
but you also sometimes need realistic hype, like
Yes.
girl,
You need truth.
right, like
For
you're
sure.
doing it, like you're killing it, but you're about to kill yourself. Sit down, let me make you some tea, like let's go to the spa, let's go watch a movie. You need
Yes.
those type of people in your life.
Yes. And that's what I love about Black women, because we're always very honest in having conversations with each other and sharing what we see hopefully in a very tactful way, in a way that is still soft, but also honest. So I really do love that about us.
Me too.
Okay, Joy. So what are the lies we tell ourselves about joy?
I think we tell ourselves a lot of lies about joy. We think that joy is outside of us. It's not. It's within you. Because we think that joy is outside of us, we think we have to earn it. You don't. It's your birthright. Because we think that we have to earn it and it's outside of us and it's somewhere over there, we also think that it's compartmentalized. It's not compartmentalized.
Yeah.
When you are using it as a modality, when you are tapping into it as your center, it is flowing through all things. And we look at these movements of liberation, and we are encouraged to believe that they are centered on anger.
Yes.
And that they have nothing to do with joy, but liberation cannot actually exist without joy as its nucleus. So if you are actually about liberation, you are about joy.
Yeah.
Yes, anger is there. If you have noticed that you are not being treated the way you are supposed to be treated, the natural response to that is anger, but that anger is redemptive. Because joy is actually what is driving you to know that you deserve better.
Yes.
Joy is what is showing you what is possible on the other side of the dehumanization. Joy is actually helping you lean into your imagination and imagine futures that you can co-create together that do not currently exist in the present. So this idea that joy is something over there, is not really that important, or if once you get to this place in your life, then you're worthy of it.
Yeah.
That is a very dangerous lie, and it will keep you impoverished.
Yes, it will. Joy does offer you a whole lot of clarity. I remember when and I haven't really shared this story too deeply, but when I shifted from having the DEI coach to design your soft life, I made that shift. And this is a gift that I left myself, my future self. But at the time, I made the shift out of desperation and not out of inspiration, because I felt like the people that I wanted to serve, they weren't there. Like the Black women that I needed to have that perspective of, like, you are deserving of joy. Like, you are enough. You are worthy. You don't have to work yourself to death to be like worthy of something. That correct DEI work is not, there's nothing soft about it. And that was actually a comment that someone made to me, like, there's nothing soft about DEI work. But I'm like, that's not who you are. It's what you do. Like, you have to be able to feed yourself, to give to yourself in order for you to show up in the ways that you want to show up. And it was just not a message that people wanted to hear or that they could hear, because they were so, like you said, angry about all of the things that were going on around them. So I'm happy that I gave myself that gift, but I'm also like clear enough to acknowledge that when I made that shift, it was not because I felt so inspired by designing a soft life. It was literally because I was like, this isn't working. Like, what do I need to do differently? And I'm glad I did it. But I know where it came from. It didn't come from a place of joy. It didn't come from a place of inspiration. So,
Okay, I would, and this is me being biased because I went through a similar thing. I would encourage you to think that it did come still from a place of joy. Because, a lot of times we think, oh, well, the joy is existing when my nervous system is regulated. Like, I've got this regulated nervous system. Boom. Like I'm unfazed. I'm unbothered.
Yeah.
I am flowing in my joy. But actually, sometimes joy is the signal through the dysregulated nervous system. The joy within you that knew that like something is off here.
Yeah.
We should actually be waking up better than this. We should be going to bed better than this. The middle of the day should be better than this. We shouldn't be getting the scaries when we look and see that it's like
It's Sunday.
right. You know,
Yeah.
you should be flowing in a different way. That was coming from your joy. And I say this because I went through a similar thing.
Yeah.
I kind of looked around and I realized that I had built the life that I needed to build. I had turned myself into the person I needed to turn myself into to survive the
Yes.
situation that I had to survive, right? I looked around and I was in a place that I did not want to be. I'll go back. I grew up in Macon, Georgia, and it was not the right environment for me not to stay. Like I was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Yes. Like I don't regret that at all. Like every part of my journey has been a legitimate part. But I looked around and I was like, this isn't where I'm supposed to be. I'm supposed to have something else going on. So I built this identity of myself that could just propel myself out of the situation.
Yes.
Right. I did not rest. I didn't sleep. I was consumed by it. Whatever I needed to do, I did it. I worked endlessly. And of course, that fed into a narrative of I'm an inexhaustible resource. Right. So I can just keep working like this and working like this. And eventually I got myself out to LA and I was, doing luxury and entertainment and I'm on red carpets and I'm throwing amazing events and I'm working so hard that I actually fainted
Wow.
at one of my events. And people admired that immensely. Fainted, passed out in a $4,000 dress because I had worked so hard. I had not hydrated. I hadn't eaten properly. I was messing up my thyroid, and I didn't realize that was even a thing that I could do. And eventually, after I got past the fainting, and people threw even more work my way because they saw that I was willing to work myself literally to death.
Yeah.
I got so sick that I really had to sit down. And I couldn't have any conversation with myself other than what is happening and what do I want on the other side of this. And I realized that, I had used my gifts, my skills in the way that I needed to create the life that I had created. I've always been a storyteller. I've always understood growth strategy. And I use that in publicity. I use it in branding to help really build mega brands, celebrity brands, personal brands for people who wanted to take themselves up to another echelon. Did all of that. But I wasn't really flowing in my creativity the way that I wanted to. I wasn't back to where I was when I was a little girl and I was writing stories with it didn't matter if anyone was going to read them. And I was lit up. And that fire that was inside of me, that was the mandate from the divine. And my heart's desire was actually the North Star. I didn't have to go looking out into the world for what am I supposed to do on this planet. My heart's desire was put within me to know that's exactly what I was supposed to be doing. And I was not doing that.
Yeah.
So the minute that I decided that this is what I'm going to do, I started building a completely different life. And so now it wasn't a life that was centered on the lack that I felt, what I thought was not going to be possible for me unless I was able to get this and secure myself this way and make myself safe so that then I could maybe be joyful.
Yeah.
Right? Like this conditional joyfulness. Instead, I was like, wait, this is within me all the time. It's always there. Why don't I just actually go ahead and start building from that place? And I started asking these really beautiful questions that I don't think I would have asked otherwise.
Had you not had to sit down?
Had I not had to sit down. And that was when I also realized I didn't want to teach my body that was when I was going to start asking different questions.
Yeah.
Reparations begins in the body. And at least in my opinion, the body dwells in the spirit, and the soul is having its journey through the body, but everything is moving through spirit. So then I started just wondering, what would my life look like if I started working spirit? And what would my creativity look like if I was actually tapping into my joy every time I am creating? And, oh, what actually could I be in the world? How could I move through the world if I started to think something really wild, like perhaps all this star stuff? Dreamt it that one day it would be me, that it has found its way through all of that cosmos, all of that melanin in the night sky, into my body on this rock, in this exact moment and place and time that it supernovaed. And as it was doing so, it said, maybe one day I could be this. And now here I am. What would my life be like? What might my life be if I start to move through the world thinking that I have this kind of cosmic flow, this kind of cosmic connection? That yes, it is not just me on this planet in this body, but I may be part of an edict to make an earth common home for all life. And it just changed everything about the way that I created, the way that I told stories, the kind of genres that I was willing to go into. And it's unfolded into a completely different career that I also don't have to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
Like there was a moment when I thought, okay, well, I can do this work that I do for my clients over here. And then over here in my spare time, I can be this, I can do these creative projects that are mine. And now I start to realize that, oh no, I can flow within this all the time. So now here I sit, 2025, and all the work that I do is around narrative and storytelling. Whether it is doing narrative change work to look at the stories that we've been told, the stories we've inherited, the stories we've been sold over and over again, and start to ask different questions of them, research them, change whole narratives around what we think about what a scientist looks like, or what any type of body looks like in a certain profession, or whether it is me, doing speaking engagements, writing a poetry collection, writing a nonfiction book about personal branding through the lens of personal development. Everything I'm doing is about the stories that we tell ourselves and how we can restructure those stories centered on our joyfulness as part of our liberation process.
Yeah. What a gift. You are a gift. You are a gift. And I resonated with so many of the things that you said, but what I'll say is this. I talked a little bit earlier about leaving myself a gift in the past. So last year I created this strategy called the FAFO strategy, or the FAFO method. And we all know what FAFO means, but it doesn't mean that in this sense. But it's interesting that we are at a point as Black women where we okay, collective step back, collective breath, y'all about the FAFO. So I'm okay, I left myself this gift. And so many of the things that you said show up in that strategy that I created. And the first F is for filter the noise. So you need to filter out all the messages, narratives, all the things you've been sold and told your entire life to come up with this new way of being. You need to tell yourself the truth, obviously. Anchoring in your purpose. And that is focused on you and storytelling and narrative writing and all these things. Those are the things, that was the seed that was planted in you. You just needed to remember what that seed was. The second F is flow with ease. So you just finished talking about that. I just need to be able to flow instead of trying to control everything. I can flow and be who I am and still be okay. I don't need to be a different person. I don't need to lean this way or lean that way to please someone else. I just need to show up as I am and I can flow with ease. And then the O is own your power. So you got to stand in that thing. You got to stand in it. But it's a gift that I left myself over a year ago. And then after going through my own like transformation, understanding, okay, like all of this makes so much sense. I just needed to remember who I am, and then focus on my mission of helping Black women who are saving the world to save themselves first. And now I can do that work through the FAFO method.
Look at that.
It's just beautiful. It all came together.
And again, it just shows too that you are in the right place at the right time. Like you are exactly who you need to be when you need to be, right? Because a lot of times we feel bad when we've had these moments where we feel like we abandon ourselves.
Yeah.
I think, oh goodness, like I took this step forward, I took 3 steps back. But if you're, dancing through life, maybe that's just the dance moves at the moment. Right?
Totally.
That you're going forward, you're going back, you're learning. As long as you're learning, nothing is wasted. And a lot of times too, when it comes to certain work that you want to do within liberation, you need to have the street cred.
Yeah.
So how you going to talk about coming back to yourself if you never went away from yourself? You don't know how to get home.
Exactly.
If you
don't
never
even know
left.
that. Yeah, exactly. That part. Exactly. But it definitely did not feel like that in the moment. In the moment, I felt like a failure. I felt like, why can't I get this thing right that I say that I want to do? So I'm grateful now. But in the moment, I was like, girl, what's happening? What's happening? It didn't feel good at the time. But now I'm like, okay, I needed to do that in order to transform. And even the point that you made about building a life that a life that you needed to be a certain person at a certain time. And then coming to this realization that, you know what, it's time for me to evolve. Like, I don't really love this life that I built. So now I want to build something else. And that seems to be like something that we keep coming back to in these episodes, is that we built the life that we thought we were supposed to have because of what people told us we were supposed to be. And then when we understood and started to remember and feel uncomfortable in what should be comfortable, is what people tell us. Like, everything's perfect. Like,
Right.
what do you mean you need to change? But once we start to feel uncomfortable in that, it's like, oh, wait, like there are other options. There are other things that I can do. I can show up in this other way because these are the things that I love, and I want to do that now. Right. So I love it.
I love it too.
Look at us.
Evolving. Which means you don't have to stay the same. I feel like so much of this liberation work is realizing that you can actually change. Because the systems around you, they want everything to stay the same.
Yes.
They want the hegemony. They want the monotony so that they always know how to find you. Right? They want you to stay exactly as you are so that they know how to prey upon you. I remember when I was a kid and I would be watching any of the nature shows, and they would always be showing the lion conquering successfully the wildebeest or whatever.
Yeah.
Like, I very rarely saw the prey animal get away. Until recently, like as the storytelling had started evolving and different directors and producers got involved, then I started seeing things like the lion, bit the mongoose, and the mongoose was half dead, but the mongoose reared up on the lion in a way that it scared the lion. Like, I don't even know what this is. I don't think I want to eat this. It's going to give me indigestion or something. I'm just going to rip it away. And the mongoose was like, I'm going to rip your face off,
Exactly.
And I had never seen those things growing up. I had not seen, the predictability do something unpredictable. But we, have this thing in our zeitgeist of, well, the apex predator cannot adapt to the change, right? Like when the environment changes, the first casualty is the apex predator because they really only know how to hunt one particular way. They try to keep you zigging because they know how to catch you if you zig, but if you zag, they don't know what to do. And so we've been given this really heavy vocabulary and language that I feel is all kind of descended from war communications, war language, of like staying the same, getting to this place of settled within life. And that's when you can finally relax and exhale, and you've made it. And you're supposed to just stay in this little hole, pigeonhole, the entire time, so that it knows exactly where to come find you.
See how you always see, I said this in the beginning. You always like take me on a journey. You take us on a journey, and then I'm like, you know what? Yes, absolutely that. So yeah, you always got me thinking. For sure. That was a really great example. So the last thing that I want to ask you is about homework for Black women who are having a hard time tapping into their joy. Because as you mentioned throughout this episode, joy is within you. You don't need to do a bunch of stuff to get to joy. Joy is not over there in the corner. Joy is not external to you. It is within you, and you can experience it at any time. You don't have to wait. So what would you say to a Black woman who is struggling with that idea of it's in me, I don't have to wait?
That's my camera, right?
It is. Mm-hmm.
Sit down and ask yourself, how much of what you are carrying is actually yours, or are you being weighed down by other people's crap? Have you actually built your life based on the limitlessness of your ability to imagine about yourself? Or have you tried to compact all of your beauty, all of your talent, all of your being, all of your effervescence into the very narrow, limited imaginations of other people and their imaginings of you for you? I think if you sit down with that for a while, you will find that it's better for you to do the thinking, because if you're leaving it up to what other people think about you, they might not think that well. They might not be known for their thinking. And if you're leaving your abilities up to what other people can imagine them to be for you, they might not imagine that well. They might not be known for their vast imagination. So if you want to start to tap into your joy, tap into that thing that is within you, start with your ability to imagine for yourself and reshape every bit of what you have known to be true about your reality. Reshape that and reform that to start to fit that new narrative.
I love that so much. They may not think that well, and they may not imagine too well, but your imagination is vast.
Right.
And the possibilities are endless. There's so many opportunities for you to do whatever it is that you want to do. And we definitely do have to filter out that noise of everyone else, like what they're telling us, and then also what we're telling ourselves based on what we've experienced, based on what we've known, to just say, you know what, the possibilities are endless.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're, what do you say, a room without a roof.
Yeah, the ceiling missing.
Right.
Pull up to the scene with the ceiling missing. All right. I needed that.
Yes.
I needed that. I needed that rap moment. But where can we find you online, Joy? If folks want to learn more about you and what it is that you do, how can they find you?
Oh, you can find me on social media under the handle Do It in Public. Yes. Do It in Public, one word. And very active on LinkedIn. I'm pretty active on Instagram. And then you can always find my books on Amazon.
Amazing. Tell
And
us
anywhere
the
else
titles.
that books are sold. But one of my books is Beyond Brand, and that one is about personal branding through the lens of personal development. So it's actually thinking differently about your public image from that edict, from that, that heart's desire space, and building community around that edict. And then Show Us Your Fire is a collection of poetry and prose that is about our birthright to self-compassion and tapping into that radical self-love and joy as the source for flow and ease.
Yes, absolutely. That's the one y'all need to go get. Go get Show Us Your Fire, because it's a good start. I might have to put that inside of my materials as a homework assignment, as a resource.
Well, I thought about it from the place of just, it started coming to me. It was like this whole mystical experience, right? Like this, like, oh, these things around, these terraforming things around you are not really real.
Yeah.
And I was like, where's all this stuff coming from? And then I started doing my research, and I was like, wait, Harriet Tubman, Ruby Sales, Sojourner Truth, all of them had this kind of ability within them. And so that's a lot of what's in Show Us Your Fire is steeped in that tradition of Black women's ability, Black American women's ability to look at the current situation and dream into futures and start to drive us toward more liberated, egalitarian futures.
Yeah. Am I Harriet Tubman?
Probably. I mean, have you gotten to the point where it's just easier not to argue with people? You might have to. You can't go back. You can't go back. We're already on the road now. You can't go back. Can't change your mind.
Exactly. Exactly that. But I have really enjoyed this conversation with you. It has been so filling. And I don't know if you've ever heard this before, but your voice is so soothing.
Oh, thank you.
And your energy is just so soothing. So I've really enjoyed having this conversation with you today about joy as liberation. I'm still jealous that your name is Joy. Still, at the end of the episode, still jealous. And thank you to everyone who's tuned in for this week's episode, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you for watching this week's episode of We Ain't Dying for This, a Black woman's guide to liberation. Catch up on previous episodes on the Living Corporate Network and on YouTube. You're also invited to join our exclusive community for access to early episode releases, exclusive content, live events, and more.